Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ghost Turd Stories. I'm your host, Troy Gent. Ghost Turd Stories' mission is using humorous stories from veterans and first responders to reduce the burden of families whose veteran or first responder committed suicide. Ghost Turd Stories' vision is to use humor from veteran and first responder stories to prevent suicide within our ranks and reduce the burden of families whose veteran or first responder committed suicide. We hoped to attract veterans and first responders, as well as those interested in knowing more about what it's like to be in our shoes while we wear or wore those shoes. Welcome everybody to Ghost Turd Stories. This is Troy Gent, your host. My guest tonight is Dylan Morgan. He was one of my team leaders in Afghanistan and for a time, one of my squad leaders when units were getting shifted around, but ended up as one of my team leaders, one of my favorite, honestly. And I just really appreciate him being here. Welcome, Dylan.
Hey, Troy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, who you served with, and what units you were with.
Yeah, so as you kind of alluded to, I was in the Marine Corps. I had the privilege of serving in two different commands. The first was 1st Battalion, 7th Marine Sea Company, also known as Suicide Charlie, 2 guidons. And then 3rd Battalion, 4th Marine India Company, also known as Dark Side.
Tell us why Suicide Charlie was nicknamed Suicide Charlie.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a beautiful history. Suicide actually got the name back in 1942 during the Battle of Guadalcanal. There was an infiltration of the Japanese soldiers, kind of given a brunt force attack, and Suicide was right there in the middle. Alpha on one side, which is Animal Company, and Baker on the other side, which is Bravo Company. Suicide took kind of the brunt force of the attack. We actually had Chesty B. Pooler was our battalion commander at the time, and then John Bassalone was also a part of 1-7. As we just continued to take the brunt of the attack, we had shot down some enemy planes, and a parachute had landed in our vicinity. And the next day, after kind of the battle had cleared, you could see a Marine flying a flag, and it was a piece of that white parachute, and it was a skull and crossbones. And on it, it said Suicide Charlie. What's so amazing about that is Charlie was spelled wrong. They spelled it Charley. To this day, it has stayed the same spelling with Charlie, Charley. And I think that's amazing that our history can continue to survive us. I believe that we are still the only company in the Marine Corps that has the privilege of flying 2 flags.
That's awesome. So some knucklehead misspelled Charlie when he made the flag?
He did. And to his credit, I'm sure it was probably a pretty intense moment. And, it's kind of funny, too, it's not really funny, but it's pretty awesome. If you've ever watched the docuseries The Pacific, I believe in the first or second episode, you can actually see the Suicide Charlie flag flying. That whole little story revolved right around what we were doing as a company at that time.
You deployed to Iraq twice with 1-7, is that right?
I did. I deployed twice with 1-7 in the Al Anbar province there, both times from 2007 to 2008 for my first deployment, and then 2009 for the second deployment. As soon as we came home from that second deployment, a group of men from our battalion went right back over with 3-4. I remember our first sergeant had called all the Marines in who were on their second deployment, and he said, we've got our sister battalion about to deploy, and we wanted to ask all you Marines who are on your second deployment, those who don't necessarily have big families at home, if anybody wants to volunteer. And I think at the end of the day, there was only about seven or 8 guys from Charlie Company that ended up coming over. We were home 1 month and then turned around and went right back with you guys over to Afghanistan.
Okay. Yeah, at the time you didn't have a family, but was it more a sense of obligation or like, yeah, I want to go back over, this sounds exciting, or what was the...
So I had a really close friend of mine, San Sim, who had volunteered to be a combat replacement for 3-7. He had actually passed away in Afghanistan right before that deployment, and in my mind, it would be a great way to honor that Marine to go over and serve and try and see if we could complete the mission of what he wasn't able to fulfill. And I had a lot of anger and built up resentment. I just felt like it was something that I needed to do, and that was kind of the driving force behind me raising my hand.
Okay, so how did you feel after our Afghanistan deployment?
I think at the end of the day, where I'm at now, I'm pleased with what we were able to accomplish as a company and as a Marine Corps. I'd like to say that everything that I did and the people that were around me did, we could have only done what we were allowed to do. At times I still felt like I had left something on the table or I didn't give it my all. But I know that that's not true deep down inside. And I know that there's always going to be a part of me that wishes things could have been a different way. But what I've come to realize is I'm okay with doing exactly what I've done. And I'm okay with the events that transpired. And it's just a time to live another day.
Sure, yeah. I went through some of that when I got back. I wanted to go right back over and join. I think it was Dark Horse is their nickname. I just felt so obligated to go back over there, and I almost convinced my wife, but I think we could have gone over there 20 times and we probably still feel the same thing, so.
And I agree with that completely.
Tell us a little bit about the funny experiences that you've thought of already. And
So, yeah, I'd taken some time to kind of think about this. And, on my very first deployment, we had the honor of being there during the summertime and during the wintertime. So we kind of got the beautiful weather of both winter and summer. And at this particular time, it was really, really hot. And I just remember it being, probably 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And lean over to the guy I'm with. I'm like, dude, I am so freaking hot right now. I mean, I could take all this stuff off and I'd probably still be hot. I was like, isn't there a water bottle around here somewhere? And he's like, yeah, man, I think it's right over there up against that HESCO barrier. So I reach over, I grab it, and all I could tell was it looked like a Gatorade bottle. And I unscrew it, and I'm like, oh, man, this is going to be great. And I pour it over my head.
Oh, my gosh, dude. I already know what you're going to say.
Yeah, it was somebody's piss bottle. It was somebody's pee that they had pissed in a bottle and left it on post. Didn't have the courtesy to take their trash, right? Like, hey, man, take that off the post, dude. No, why would you do that? And so sure enough, man, like instantly you could smell that ammonia. And I'm just like, are you effing kidding me right now, man? Like now I've got to sit another 4 hours with just pee all over me. Like, how is this even remotely acceptable? I can tell you what, it cooled me down for for a little bit though, but I sure did sting.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
I was thinking you were gonna say a Gatorade bottle full of dip or piss, one of the two, because Marines dip. Maybe I won't say his name. In Afghanistan, they were on an observation post, but they came back and they were all laughing at him. But just but so everybody else knows, in Afghanistan, the locals crap everywhere. Just when they got to take a crap, they stop where they're at and they crap. So there's crap all over the place. And this Marine was on an observation post late at night, and he stuck his hand in some human crap and didn't know what it was and was wiping it all over himself. And like they could see him through the night. They could see him through the night vision goggles.
No, I don't remember.
They're on an observation post, but they couldn't laugh, so they're all laughing silently as best they could, so they wouldn't give their position away. But
oh man, that is too funny, man. No, I'm not aware of that one. I'm gonna have to start asking around.
Yeah. I'll give you the name when we get off the hook here. So.
Okay, that'll work. But like, so that happened on my first deployment, and I'll maybe try to go deployment here because there's a couple that just kind of coincide with each other. Being a junior Marine, I was a saw gunner on my first deployment, so somehow this squad leader looked at me and was like, "Hey man, yeah, I'm gonna give you the saw. You look like a dude who can handle down 75% of the firepower for your fire team and collectively the squad." And I'm like, "All right, dude, yeah, that'll work. That'll work." But for some reason, I just had a love of the food in Iraq. I mean, the kebabs, the bread, the gus or shawarma, whatever you want to call it. It was just so delicious to me. And I don't know if it just happened to be the fact that I just loved to eat everything and my stomach wasn't used to it all the time. But, I just got notorious for having to carry around teepee with me. I'd try to go handle my business prior to it. But, you're in the COC getting kind of a breakdown, a brief of what the mission's going to be. Sometimes, you can't always make it. And when you're out there, sometimes duty calls. So
Was this a natural result of you eating the local food? You were like, I better start taking TV with me because it was only you, or was it the whole squad?
it was only me, believe it or not. It was honestly only me. I don't know if it was just because I had quite a few other senior Marines who were kind of adjusted to that. I think there were only 3 boots in my entire squad. And I seem to be the only one to have this issue. I mean, it got to the point. It got to the point where I had to carry around TP every time we left the wire. Yeah, I mean, we'd take an OP or go in and take over a house. But I mean, 9 times out of 10, and I hate to admit it, but there were times where I'd have to go up on the roof, and once that 360 was set, I'd have to lay a deuce and cover it up or put it wherever I could so it wasn't noticeable, but it got to that point, man. Anybody, if you're familiar with some of these Middle Eastern countries, they don't have plumbing inside. They've kind of got these trenches that are cut out, and just kind of like how you had mentioned in Afghanistan, if there's a hole, if there's a wall, somebody will go behind it and take care of their business. This didn't happen to me, thankfully, but I know of two guys that were coming back in the middle of the night, and they just happened to I don't know, cut a corner too quickly or what, but they actually fell into the poop river that was in Iraq. And it was pretty disgusting, man. The worst part about it for one guy was he lost a piece of his gear and he had to go back in after it.
In the Marine Corps, at least, they stress gear accountability so much that, like, if you lose a piece of gear, it's either your life or the piece of gear. So, yeah, I lost my K-bar once as a lieutenant, and I was exposed to the whole company. It was pretty embarrassing as a boot lieutenant.
Did you ever end up finding it?
Yeah, I had this prompting to ask the XO, who was a friend of mine, and I just kept denying the prompting. And I finally just told my platoon sergeant. He didn't really like me anyway, so he's like, we'll get the platoon online, sir. So so we got the platoon online. I mean, what are you doing? We're looking for Lieutenant's K-bar. and then I find out later the XO had it. He found it on the ground. So I should have gone to the XO and no one would have found out. I made plenty of mistakes as a lieutenant, but I don't feel like I don't think I was too prideful with my mistakes,
No, man, you were always pretty locked on it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Well, I was going to say, man, a K-bar is not as bad as losing your rifle. We had a lieutenant, and I'm not going to name any names, but this guy he was a character. Like, I know you're a Mustang, and I really respect that about you. That's something that really speaks volumes of your character. But this guy, he was kind of straight out of college, went to OCS, came in with just a gung-ho attitude, and really thought he was the bee's knees at everything he did. Well, I don't really recall the certain circumstances of how this all played out, but as you know, being an officer in theater, you guys pretty much always had a pistol, on you at all times, a pistol or an M4. I don't know if he just had thought, like, I'm only wearing my pistol, like I didn't bring my M4 with me, but he had left it in the Humvee the entire time. And the only way we kind of all figured it out, somebody was just like, "Hey, did you leave your rifle anywhere?" And guy's like, "Yeah, man, it's right here. It's been here this whole time." And lieutenant's over there. he's nowhere near it. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so that's not yours. That's his." Oh, okay. Well, We'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's odd to see a rifle all by itself. You're supposed to see the human and the rifle together at all times.
Yeah, you really are. But no, you were mentioning something about the second deployment.
I was just you said there wasn't a whole lot that you wanted to share about that.
Yeah, that deployment. I mean, there was just a lot of kind of nothing really of importance, I guess, in that one. The third deployment, however, I just kind of got thrown into a brand new battalion, brand new company, brand new platoon. But, I think I kind of lucked out of all the Marines that got sent from 1-7 over to 3-4 because everything that we did as a platoon, I mean, that's exactly what I was doing on my first deployment, and it felt like home. And that's something that, I can't say for the other guys that got deployed over there or that came with me. They either got stuck in trucks or they got stuck on the fob. But, I mean, I literally got to enjoy everything that I did with those guys, and that's just something that's amazing to me. And they came like a second family, and
I feel like you just when you came, it's almost like you were with us the whole time. Like you just fell right in and you fit right in. It was like Dylan's one of us, It was really cool.
oh, it was, and to be accepted like I was, that made it even easier and more enjoyable.
What do you think you enjoyed most about?
I think honestly the fact that we got to continue to run patrols the way that I was used to running patrols, going out into the city. Well, I don't really call it a city, it's more of a little town or village, but still being able to just get right back in there and do exactly what I was wanting to do. We didn't locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver a whole bunch, but we definitely patrolled that little village like it was our own. We took over. And the fact that we were able to control it with just a platoon, I mean, I think that should speak volumes of you and those other Marines.
I got to give credit to the platoon sergeant and the squad leaders. I mean, they had 2 combat deployments each already. That was their third. And then people like you had 2 combat deployments. They made me look good, and I didn't really deserve it, but I was just blessed that way, and I count my blessings all the time for that. So,
well, I can say this: that platoon sergeant is one of the best platoon sergeants that I've ever got to deploy with.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
He did, man, and I'm very grateful that I kind of got to slide in with him, and thankfully the guy liked me, so that was kind of a plus. I remember he was giving us some cigars one night, and he was like, "Hey, do you smoke?" And I was like, "Do I smoke? Man, hell yeah, I smoke. I want a cigar." But speaking of cigars, this right here is something that I'll never forget. We did an op there in Afghanistan. It was me, and I think we had maybe like a squad reinforced or something. And, my squad leader was, I think, the squad leader in charge of the entire thing with another lieutenant who came over who actually turned out to be a really cool guy. We did a little mission, and I think it was like a 6-day op. We took the gunner.
Oh, that was up in Bougie Bass.
That's exactly right, in Bougie Bass Pass.
Okay.
It was such a cool op. I'll never forget it, and it was enjoyable. Definitely sucked at the time because we got rained on like 4 out of the 5 nights we were there. We got rained on. I remember, the helos dropping us off and us having to hike up this mountain. Well, dude, I was point man at that point. I was hiking up this mountain, gunners right behind me, and I can't see anything that's in front of me. Not a thing.
Is it because it was dark?
Oh, because it was dark and I was sweating so bad and my glasses were fogging up. So the first thing I do, I was like, this iPro's got to go, man. I'm not going to be able to take these guys up. And I take off my iPro, just put my Oakleys on, the ones that are clear. I just put them, tuck them right here in my vest. And I start guiding us up, man. We're cruising up here. And out of nowhere, this guy comes up to me and he grabs me. He's like, "Hey, Marine, put your effing goggles on your face, man." And I'm like, "But I can't see. How am I going to get us anywhere? I can't freaking see, man." He's like, "Oh, I don't give a shit. Put your effing goggles on your face right now." And I'm like, "All right, whatever you say, sir. You're the bee's knees right now. I can't argue with you. I think it's dumb, but, whatever." So I think I ended up putting the frames back on and just taking the lenses off of them and continued up because he couldn't see. All he could see was the frames of it anyway. And I remember specifically before this brief, we were like, "Hey, look, there's no tobacco, there's no cigarettes, there's no dip. You know, if you've got a vice, well, you better figure out how to kick it real quick because you're not bringing any of that junk up here. We don't want to give away our position." You know, I'm gonna let you take a guess, but what's the very first thing that the most enlisted senior Marine did? Not enlisted, he was a warrant officer. But what does this guy do as soon as we get up on top of that hill? He lights up a freaking stogie, man. Like we had just conquered Mount Suribachi. Like he lights up a stogie and is just puffing on that thing. And I look at one of the other guys and I'm like, no tobacco, huh? That really made it over to him, didn't it?
You remember the Highway Patrol Marines? They were attached to the Highway Patrol down the road from us.
Yeah, I do.
They had gotten into a firefight, I don't know, 30, 40 clicks to our west. We were the QRF. We had just gotten there, and I was an inexperienced lieutenant, and I looked at the squad leader. This wasn't your squad. It was a different one. He was a great Marine, and I was like, hey, we got to stop at every culvert to make sure there's no IEDs in there, right? Because I had read these stories about the Taliban putting IEDs in culverts. So he's like, how often? And I said, every single one. And he's like, okay, sir. We take off in 4 vehicles, and he doesn't stop at any of them, right? We're just zipping over these culverts one after another. I'm like, he's supposed to be stopping on these things. I didn't get on the radio. I stopped for a minute and said, let me make sense of this. This squad leader has 2 combat deployments. This is his 3rd. And there's a culvert every quarter mile. If we stop at every culvert, we're never going to get to the objective, right? And so I didn't say nothing. I'm like, okay, that was a stupid thing. But I didn't say nothing. I just let him go. I let him lead it.
I mean, good initiative. Good initiative. What's the old saying? Bad judgment.
Yeah. Yep.
But so on that very same field op, I developed a sense of snoring at nighttime, and I didn't really realize it until about that deployment when the guys would always come over to me and be like, "Yo, dude, can you shut up or can you get on your side or something?" While we were up there,
This is on the mountain.
yeah, this is on the mountain.
Okay.
That lieutenant, he was like, "Hey man, I heard you snore." I was like, yeah, it's news to me, man. You know, who would have known a guy snores? And he's like, well, you understand this is an OP, right? Well, we got to be pretty quiet and, you know, can't really give away our paws. And I was like, yeah, man, no problem. You know, not a big issue. He's like, so I'm going to sleep with you. We're going to get real close. And every time you snore, I'm going to start kicking you. And I'm like, all right, yeah, that sounds fine, dude. No problem. I don't think I got a wink of sleep that entire off. He was like, dude, yeah, you were snoring so bad, I think everybody down the mountain could hear you.
That's crazy. I've never had an experience with a snoring Marine in the field before. Were you with me on that OP in the middle of town? We had gotten shot at 3 times in a week, and we thought we need to go out in the middle of town where these guys are shooting at us from and set an OP to see if they shoot at us so that we can kind of be behind them. Were you on that one with me?
I don't think I was on that one, no.
Okay. That was a crazy one. We were on there for a few hours, probably 4 or 5 hours, and we had the vehicle patrol drop us off as if they were just out on the vehicle patrol. So we kind of snuck out of the back. There was only 5 of us, but I mean, that place died when it got dark, right? It was just nothing.
It was nothing, man. Yeah.
After about 5 hours, I said, hey, let's patrol back. We walked down the steps because we were on top of a building, and 2 Marines had gone one each way, and I was a 3rd guy down. There's 2 guys behind me. And right when I got to the bottom step, a set of headlights just turned on, and the car accelerated. It sounded like it was accelerating. It was like they put the pedal to the metal, right? Car hadn't come by in like 4 hours. And so my only thought was, they've been waiting for us. This is a V-bed, a vehicle-borne IED. the two Marines that were in front of me already off, they just jumped behind something on the sides. The two Marines behind me were still on the steps. They ran back up to the roof, and I had my MVGs on. So I turned around. I didn't know what else to do. I was like right in the headlights. And I turned around and started running up the steps. I got about 6 feet up, and there was an empty space. So there was the steps and then the empty space from the top of the roof down to the bottom. So the steps landing and then steps back up. When I was almost to the landing, the depth perception of my goggles, it's awful. My left foot missed, and I went head first, and there was a motorcycle at the bottom. I went head first on top of a motorcycle, and then it was just like this giant boom, right? I landed on my head, so I saw stars. I felt blood in my mouth and everything. The vehicle just drove by. I get up, and the two Marines at the bottom like, "Are you okay, sir?" I'm like, "I don't know. I think so. I'm good. Let's get out of here." I've been using Isagenix since 2017. These products have made a world of difference in my quality of life, health, energy, muscle definition, strength, and endurance. My bread and butter products have been the Daily Essential multivitamins with Isagenesis, which is a telomere support supplement, the Isolane meal replacement shake, the Tri-Release protein shake, the collagen, the green drink, and the Cleanse for Life support system. However, Isagenix has many products and can cater to your unique lifestyle and goals. Click the link in the show notes or visit nmp.isagenix.com. That's nmp.isagenix.com to find out more. Besides just using the products, there is an option to partner with me and the company to build your own business with no capital up front. You can do as little as pay for your products and as much as making a full-time income. I love these products and will use them the rest of my life. You can also message me if you have any questions.
I think we missed a ball. We didn't get to celebrate it. We had like a makeup ball. I remember being with this Marine, and we had just gotten done with the ball. We just decided, let's just keep the party flowing, popping back and forth from place to place. I can't remember exactly the time when it was, but I know it was before daybreak and way after probably everybody's bedtime. But we started walking by this hotel back to our hotel room, and the hotel we were walking by was the Venetian.
Oh, this is in Vegas?
Yeah, this was in Vegas. And I was like, hey, man, wouldn't it be a good idea for us to tactically acquire one of those gondolas and kind of go for a boat ride? And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, man, I think it would be. So we did the only smart thing to know to do. We did a little hasty search of the area and did a little reconnaissance, made sure we were clear. We went ahead and jumped on one of those gondolas and started riding it around that little pond right there in front of the Venetian. We had seen this couple. It was a Navy man and his wife, and we assumed that they were just newlyweds, but they were probably just coming back from the same ball we were. And we said, you know what? Wouldn't it be just the most romantic thing in the world to give this couple, this nice, beautiful Navy couple, a ride on our gondola? And we're like, yeah, it would, man. Yeah, it would. So we go over there and we say, hey, looks like you guys need a ride to the other side of the pond here. And the guy's like, you know what? Yeah, sure enough we do, man. Sure enough we do. So they hop in with us. Granted, this water was like probably the size of 2 Olympic swimming pools. It's not like a huge lake or massive lake. It's pretty dang small. So we're just kind of going around in circles, giving this couple a ride. And lo and behold, somebody was sweeping the streets right there who worked for the hotel. He came and started yelling at us. He's like, hey, you guys know what you did? This is grand larceny. You guys could be arrested and sent to jail, and it's grand larceny because it's, $20,000 boat. he started screaming and yelling at us, and he's like, I'm going to get the cops. I'm going to get the cops. And man, sure enough, he went and grabbed him, and we pulled the boat up, and everybody got off, and 2 cops come over to us, and they're like, you guys could be arrested for taking this thing. Do you know what the hell you were doing? I was like, man, it's not like we're stealing anything. We're just giving some people a boat ride. Hell, where do you think we're going to take it? You think we're going to take it back to the barracks with us? Yeah, we're just going to hook this up to my Mercury Grand Marquis and haul this thing on back. And one of the cops looked to the other, and he's like, man, to the best of my memory, I've never seen 2 drunk Marines tactically acquire a boat in front of the Venetian. This is a first for me. He's like, all right, if you guys are good to walk home, just go ahead and go home now, and please stay away from the Venetian for the rest of the night. And we're like, hey, you got it, man. We're out of here. I just thought it was so awesome that we could literally take a gondola from one of the nicest hotels and drive it around for a minute, and 2 cops just come up and laugh at us and say, hey, get your drunk butts out of here, man, and go sleep that thing off.
After we got back from the deployment, how much longer did you have until you EAS'd?
We got back in May. I got out in August. I can't remember if you asked me, but I definitely remember the platoon sergeant asking me if, while I was still in Afghanistan, if I wanted to go on another pump. I was like, man, 3 and 4 years is enough for me. I think I'm done. What I can say, and I know that this is really geared towards helping people see that there's a better way of doing things, and just kind of bringing awareness. Troy, I don't know if you're aware, but whenever I came home, I was just kind of a mess. I really got heavy into drinking. I would start to smoke weed, skip out on class, and not really focus on myself and do the right thing. And man, that lasted for a good 10 years. It was a tough and rough time in my life, but the one thing that I did, and I can say has been the most grateful and beneficial thing, was I went and asked for help. I found men that told me that there was a better way to do this, that you could live your life without fear, without guilt, without remorse, without resentment, without looking to the bottle. I mean, my wife walked in on me and I had a loaded pistol in my hand. Thankfully she jumped right on it, and I went and got help, put the bottle away, and man, I've just been extremely grateful. I've got God in my life, and I've got a young son that I get to cherish every single day, and I get to take him to school, to daycare. I get to pick him up. My only plug is if you're struggling and you think that there's only one way, reach out and talk to somebody. I definitely know that there's resources out there. Even if you think that you reaching out and asking for help is less than, or it makes you a pussy or a bitch or whatever people say, because we've all heard those things, but when it doesn't. And I think that you'll really find there's answers out there if you just look for them.
Everybody has value in this life. Everybody has something to contribute. So thanks so much for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Man, it's been a pleasure getting to see you and do this. I'm grateful for the opportunity, brother. It really means a lot to me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Dylan. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Please tell your friends and family so that we can bring more joy and awareness to those struggling with suicide ideation and the families who desperately need help after the loss of someone they love to suicide.